Hello everyone and welcome to episode 38 of Generation GC. This one's a bonus episode and we're talking about Last Christmas, the cover song of the George Michael classic from A G.C. Christmas Part 1. This one's a solo episode. It's just me, Molly Hudelson, talking to y'all today. A few days ago, we had an episode on Standing Ovation from Cardiology, and on Wednesday, we'll be back with our next regular episode on a song from Youth Authority. This one is definitely on the shorter side, but I think it's fun, and I hope you all enjoy it as much as I enjoyed recording it. I like to spice things up with these bonus episodes, and hope you all enjoy hearing them. I want to remind you all to please check out, as I have been reminding you, please check out antisemitism.card.co and blacklivesmatters.card.co to learn more about anti-Semitism and the Black Lives Matter movement, respectively. You know, I think a lot of instances of racism that are on a smaller level, like microaggressions, so to speak, it can unfortunately sometimes just get swept under the rug because, oh, well, it's not a big deal, we shouldn't point it out. And the same with anti-Semitism. A lot of casual remarks get swept under the rug or not addressed because, well, it's not a big deal, or harmful and hateful beliefs based on incorrect ideas are just so widespread that people don't think to call them out. So I would really encourage you all to please, even if you already are on, the right side of history, to please do some research, read about it, educate yourself, and connect with others, and just continue learning. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? 2 things you can do. Number 1, go to anchor.fm/generationgcpod and click support to support the show. That helps me keep the show going by making sure I can buy microphones, cords, headphones, adapters, all the little gadgets you need to do a podcast and make it sound good. And it also helps me print and ship stickers because that costs a little bit of money. Or number 2, you can make a charitable donation. There's a lot of great organizations listed at blacklivesmatters.card.co. And then you were going to send me a screenshot of either your support of the show on Anchor or your charitable donation, as well as your mailing address, and I will mail you stickers. It's as easy as that. I'll also sometimes post different ways y'all can win stickers on Twitter or the Instagram story at Generation GC Pod. So please make sure you're following so you can see what's up. And that's about it for our intro. And now on to our episode. All right. So Last Christmas, track 1 on A G.C. Christmas Part 1, which was released in December 2017. So coming up on 3 years. Track 2 was Christmas by the Phone, which was a previously technically unreleased song, although you can find the acoustic demo pretty easily on YouTube. And track 3 was Let the World Be Still, originally by the Madden brothers. The fact that this was a part 1 makes me think that, at one point, at least they had intentions to do a part 2, so I will be very curious to hear that part 2. I don't know. I don't think we've seen any rumblings of it, but would be very cool to hear it. This is, of course, a cover song released by English pop duo Wham! In 1984, and this is the first time we've talked about a cover on this show. Good Charlotte hasn't done a whole bunch of covers, but there are a few, and it's cool to talk about those and mix those in for the bonus episodes. Now, this song has been covered by a ton of people. We'll get into some of those covers later. And what I learned when researching is that George Michael wrote, performed, played every instrument himself, he produced it, and he was only 21 years old. What were you doing when you were 21? I was, in my senior year of college, and I was interviewing bands and stuff, but, I definitely was not writing and performing and recording and producing a future, ubiquitous, ginormous hit song all by myself. Last Christmas, the original, the Wham version, was recorded at the Ad Vision studio in London in August 1984, and the only people allowed inside were Michael's engineer, Chris Porter, and 2 assistants. It was included on Wham's album, Music from the Edge of Heaven, and the single was a double A-side with Everything She Wants. Last Christmas is a very, very well-known song. It's a very successful song. Per Wikipedia, Wham's original version reached number 1 in Denmark, Slovenia, and Sweden, reached number 2 in 9 countries, which are Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Norway, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. The group donated their profits from this song to the Ethiopian famine, and it continues to chart almost every year in the UK around the holidays. Charts in a bunch of other countries around the holidays regularly too. It's catchy, it's memorable, but it's not like super intricate, so I feel like it's just really easy to remember. It's not like some complex thing. Like, you hear this song, you remember it. And also, the lyrics are just pretty easy to figure out, I think. They're pretty direct. It's not a lot of bizarre metaphor. I could spend hours just talking about the original George Michael song, Last Christmas. There's just so much to talk about with this song. There's a really great article from The Guardian that I'll link in the comments, just talking about how ubiquitous this song is. And it mentioned, which I found interesting to learn, that Last Christmas is the UK's best-selling song that never reached number 1 in the country. Which I think goes to show just how powerful it is to have something that sticks around. Like, yeah, maybe it never reached number 1 in the UK, but it stuck around for 36 years now, if I'm doing my math right. So, it adds up. It adds up over time. Good Charlotte has never played their version of Last Christmas live. It was not a single. No music video was released, and there's not a whole ton of info on, why Good Charlotte may have chosen this. I wanted to mix it up. Now, in terms of, why I wanted to pick this song, it's December, holidays coming up soon, so this seemed like a good time to do a Christmas song. In terms of what the song means, I think if we're going to grossly simplify it, you could say it's about unrequited love. It's funny, it's especially noticeable, I think, in Wham's original version, that you have this really, really happy, upbeat sounding song, but the lyrics are actually kind of sad. I think it's about, having given yourself to someone, whether that means you told them you have romantic feelings for them, or you were actually dating. Maybe you started dating around Christmas, and they burned you. Either they didn't return your feelings, or they just left you high and dry and broke up, and now you're hardened, and you're only going to give your heart to someone who's worth it. You're only going to get together with someone, or, be vulnerable with someone if you feel like they're really worth it. You feel like you can trust them. After you've been hurt, I think it's pretty natural to retreat. There's that saying, being once bitten, twice shy, right? If you've been cheated on, you're going to have trust issues. If you've been led on, you might have a hard time believing people when they say they like you or they're into you. If you haven't been treating well, if you've been lied to, if you've been broken up with in a really horrible way, if you've been let down by people, if people are not showing up when you need them to, etc., etc. I mean, all of those things can lead to different issues that come up in relationships in the future. You have to trust your partner in order for anything to be successful. And that trust, that, ability to have confidence is not just your partner, it's your own self and your schemas about the world. If you've been hurt before, it is so natural to retreat, to feel like you don't want to be hurt again. So maybe you take a break from dating, you take a break from putting yourself out there or being vulnerable with people. It also makes a lot of sense to me that if it happened around a certain time of year, then the next year, that time of year might feel extra difficult, especially if it's something like Christmas, where it's like huge, massive holiday, biggest holiday in the Western world, all this lavish celebration, and you're like, oh my God, I got my heart broken last Christmas. I think people need time to heal, and that could be weeks or months. It could be a couple of years, but maybe you need therapy. Maybe you need to do a lot of introspection and self-care and work on your platonic relationships. But yeah, I mean, people need to heal, and while things like having trust issues after you've been cheated on or manipulated or lied to, of course, that's like natural reaction. You don't have to be crippled by that, I don't think. You don't have to let that interfere with your future potential for happiness. I think there's also, this is kind of sidetracking a bit from the song itself. This is just like me personally. But I feel like in our society, we kind of romanticize this idea of, you know, after you break up with someone, making up and being friends with them and just being totally cool with it. Or if you have a falling out with a friend, making up and being stronger than ever down the road. And I just want to say that it is okay to cut ties completely, to be done with someone, to block them on social media, delete their number, never, ever talk to them again, ever. That is okay. That is completely okay. You know, ultimately the forgiveness is for yourself. And it, you know, I feel like that's a cliche as well, but you do not have to accept the other person's apology if you know they don't mean it. And even if you do accept their apology, that doesn't mean you're back together or you're friends again, right? Healing yourself is separate from deciding you're going to maintain a relationship that is not working for you. And I can imagine that, like, if last Christmas, you know, someone kind of ripped your heart out and then they're like, hey, want to be friends again? I would not want to be friends with that person, most likely. Like, no way. How does Good Charlotte's version compare to the original? There was a quote in that Guardian piece that said that Wham's version sounds like nothing and everything all at once, which is a very good way to put it, right? It's like, it sounds like so many different things, but it also kind of doesn't sound like anything. It's just there. But I almost wonder if a comparison like that is something that was written because the song in the, you know, several decades has become very, very popular. If it, you know, would you say the song sounds like nothing and everything all at once when the song was first released? I don't know if you really could, because I wonder if it, you know, shaped. I feel like it did shape a lot of music going forward. Good Charlotte's version does sound like G.C., especially in Joel's like vocal delivery, and the verses sounds so much like G.C., although a little bit like the kind of stylings they do in the Madden Brothers stuff. But it does have these kind of 80s type rhythms. So to me, it feels like they are really just trying to keep the spirit of the original song while adding some G.C. kind of flavor. It doesn't really feel like they're completely reinventing the song to me. So I think it's pretty cool, because it sounds like Good Charlotte, but it also sounds like the original. You know, when you do a cover, you can completely reinvent it if you so choose. You can completely change the arrangement. I mean, think of all of those, you know, Punk Goes Pop albums. Think of all of those, you know, there's like a TikTok guy that does these videos like, what if Blink-182 wrote, you know, some country song? Things like that. I do think it'd be cool to hear Good Charlotte do this song in that like gloomy dance punk style like did on Good Morning Revival. I would also love to hear this arranged with a bunch of strings like the stuff they did on Generation RX. That would be very cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I like this version as is. Let's talk about some other covers. There are so many covers of Last Christmas out there. This is not an exhaustive list at all. I just, you know, wanted to share some that caught my eye and my ear. Holy shit, there's so many. Like, I feel like if you have ever covered a Christmas song, you have covered Last Christmas. If you have been an artist, you have covered Last Christmas. It's cool to see like how people have arranged it a little differently. So let's read some. So Darren Hayes of Savage Garden covered it in 1999. Jimmy Eat World covered it in 2001. They did it acoustic, and I really liked this. I love Jimmy Eat World. I knew that in the bridge you could really hear Jim's voice. Like, obviously you hear Jim's voice, Jim Adkins' voice, but in the bridge, like the second verse of this song, when Jim Adkins sings it, I feel like it so much sound like it almost sounds like he's just singing a Jimmy Eat World song. Hilary Duff covered it in 2002. Ashley Tisdale covered it in 2006. I honestly thought both of those were pretty unremarkable, personally. Cascada covered it 2007, if you remember her song Every Time We Touch. Taylor Swift also covered it in 2007. It was actually Taylor Swift's cover was actually also included on a Best Country Christmas compilation in 2019. Now, this might be controversial, and I love Taylor Swift, but I think this was before she really found her voice, and I feel like if she were to redo this cover now, you would hear a much more powerful vocal, even if it was like a country styling like this. I just think her voice is better now than it was 12 years ago, and that's not surprising, right? People, as they continue practicing their craft, they tend to improve. The Glee cast did this in 2009 as a charity single. I have never watched Glee. I don't know if I should. Part of me kind of wants to, because it's such a pop culture phenomenon. They dominated the iTunes charts when that was a thing. But I don't know. Ariana Grande covered it in 2013. Carly Rae Jepsen covered it in 2015. It got a lot of critical praise. Carly Rae Jepsen is one of those artists that in the past few years, I feel like the music media has really, really loved, which I think is cool. Her version of Last Christmas to me seemed like very, very much trying to redo the original, slightly modernized, but her arrangement to me felt pretty similar to the original. Gwen Stefani covered it in 2017. Ally Brooke of Fifth Harmony covered it in 2018. Meghan Trainor covered it quite recently. I don't really like Meghan Trainor. I like wanted to, but I can't. I don't feel like she is necessarily, I feel like it's a lot of like internalized misogyny, I think. But I'll take a listen to her version. You know, who knows? But I'll take a listen to her version of Last Christmas. Who knows? I also wanted to talk about the 2019 movie called Last Christmas. It was directed by Paul Feig, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and it starred Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding. What a pair Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding were. Wow. Now, I love Christmas movies of all sorts. Love, 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 love. I watched like 50 plus last year. I'll probably watch just as many this year. It's October 18th as I'm recording this, and I've already watched like 2 or 3. This movie it was a major motion picture. It was in theaters. It's a little different from your Lifetime, Hallmark, or even like a Netflix Christmas movie. It is a little wacky. I mean, as Christmas movies tend to be, right? Christmas movies tend to be pretty wacky. But I think Emilia and Henry make amazing leads. They have such strong characters, and they just have such great chemistry together. But especially as I think about, I saw this movie twice. I loved it. It was silly, but like, I loved it. I saw this movie twice, and their dynamic, it's like so romantic, but especially as I think back to how it ends, I'm like, oh my god, and now I can feel all that tension and everything. Emilia plays Kate, who's a struggling actress in London who worked at a Christmas shop, like a year-round Christmas shop, dealing with a bunch of health issues, is not really taking care of herself, when she just meets this dashing yet very mysterious guy, Tom, Henry Golding, and they start a romance. Kate, importantly, loves George Michael. It's frequently referenced in the film. You can see her, like, dragging a suitcase around with a bunch of George Michael stickers. There's multiple versions of the song Last Christmas in the movie. It's definitely going to make you feel a lot of just different emotions. If you like romantic films and you like Christmas movies, I mean, I think you'll like this. If you can kind of suspend your disbelief that, a movie should make sense, because most movies don't make sense. This film did not get great reviews, but, Christmas movies typically don't, and often romance movies don't either, so, like, I'm not surprised. Honestly, like, I would love to see Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding star next to each other again. Just such a great pair, and it would be so fantastic to see them opposite each other once again. There wasn't a whole lot of reviews of this song or anything, so it goes. But yeah, I wanted to come on and talk about it. It's honestly held up pretty well for me. I really, really like this version. Covers, I can be here or there on like the concept of covers in general, just because usually I'm like, I would rather hear a band play their own music. But this is a song that so many people have covered that it's like, it's not surprising that Charlotte would choose to cover it. I mean, the last words, yeah, I listened to a lot of covers of Last Christmas getting ready for this. This was fun. I think probably my other favorite was a Jimmy Eat World version. Not surprising, because I love Jimmy Eat World. But yeah, go poke around and listen to all the Last Christmas covers out there on the internet. Finally, it's just me, but I wanted to leave y'all with a song recommendation for the Generation G.C. and Friends playlist, and that is going to be Bo Bascoro, Love You Now. I found Bo's music last year, New Year's Eve of 2019, so December 31st, 2019, and he is just a phenomenal songwriter. Kind of reminds me of like a Jack Antonoff, Bleachers meets like Ryan Tedder, One Republic sound. Phenomenal songwriter, incredible voice. His songs feel like intimate, but also just so massive. And Love You Now is, as of recording, his most recent release, came out in August. Well, that's about it for the episode. Thank you all for tuning in. A few days ago, we talked about Standing Ovation from Cardiology. This is a bonus episode, and soon we'll have our next regular episode talking about a song from Youth Authority. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. Thank you for tuning in to Generation GC. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in.